So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste and a very warm welcome to all of you to the Blub World Web Talks 235th episode. In the last 234 episodes, we have talked to, interacted with more than 4,000 school leaders on this very platform where they've shared their ideas, opinions, innovations, and what all new are they doing in the education space. तो नमस्कार, आप सभी का स्वागत है ब्लब वर्ल्ड वेब टॉक्स के 235वें एपिसोड में। पिछले 234 एपिसोड्स में करीबन 4,000 से ज्यादा शिक्षाविदों से हमने बातचीत की और ये जानने की कोशिश की कि वो शिक्षा को कैसे बदल रहे हैं और शिक्षा उन्हें कैसे बदल रही है. So today as well, in the next 20 to 30 minutes that we have with our amazing guests, we'll try to discuss on one more topic which is quite relevant for students and is becoming even more relevant now when education, specifically school education, is evoluting to completely different levels in the Asia Pacific region, because most of these countries are looking at a very developing pace. They're growing at a pace which is phenomenal. And when they see this, we need education to pace up. And when we need education to pace up, what are the changes that we are really bringing in? Before we start the session, just some ground rules. So the Blub World Web Talks is kind of a speaking sprint. It's kind of a 100-meter race. So you have to start and speak the best points and put them forward as quickly as possible, because once your speaking time is over, you might get muted. If you get muted, please don't get offended. It's just to keep the activity crisp and entertaining for everyone. Secondly, this is a bilingual platform, so you can use English or Hindi, any of these two languages. English would be preferred so that international audience can listen and enjoy the session. But still, you can use Hindi, but please don't use a third one because I might not get it. Thank you so much once again for joining us. And once your time is over, you see BlubWorld's screen. When you see BlubWorld's hand raised like this, that means your final 30 seconds are in counting. So that is the time you should start concluding. That's kind of a, convenience for everyone who's speaking. So once again, thank you so much for joining us. Now we'll be talking about something which I would rather say is superbly controversial, because in most of the developed countries, we have done away with it. There is nothing termed or called as homework in most of the first world nations. But in most of the third world nations, this is something that education relies heavily on. And that's the kind of pressure that we built on every single student in the school education ecosystem. Now, what do the school leaders really think about that? That's my opinion, but let's not opinionate the debate. Let's try to know what people really think. Thank you so much, everyone. A very warm welcome to the Blub World Web Talks 235th episode. Let's talk about the impact of homework on student success. Now, when we say student success, it means success in their life, not only getting into a course or getting into a university, that being an aspect, but let's try to discuss as many aspects as possible. Let me invite the first speaker for today to initiate today's roundtable. A very warm welcome to Mr. Saurabh Pandey, who is a senior academic advisor for Lead Group, Leadership Boulevard Private Limited, Bhopal from Madhya Pradesh. Saurabh ji, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and what a great gesture you have started. It's still very wonderful having us panel that we have selected today. So actually, we have only 3 minutes, so I have to conclude my point. So homework has been actually it's a matter of public and scientific concern throughout. Although the concept of homework has been present for a long time, the role of its play in enhancing student achievement is not clearly understood. Actually, this is an age-old debate, to be honest. But the question is how homework helping, it is helping or hindering student learning. So there are lots of, you can say, studies has been done by various university. I'm just quoting Duke University. Duke has done more than 60 papers from 1987 to 2003. And they find few findings. Like I'm just going to highlight few findings with all of you. Like there is a one question first. As a parent, they are usually seen worrying about too less or too much homework, because in Indian context where we are talking about, parents are always talking about like they are going to criticize the teacher. The homework is you can say it's a too less homework, sometimes too much homework. They are always questioning on us. But sometimes when we talk, we can say homework is a beneficial as long you for learning, motivation, and opportunity to cope with the academic benefits. not for the all, we can say, sometimes it will going to be help for non-academic perspective as well. Like homework is going to be help for the routine building. I can say routine building we can do, we can motivate them, but same time, if homework is going to be critical and tough for the student, for the young learner, basically we can talk, it's become a burden for them. Why? And that homework is going to be hinders their work. Like mentally they are going to be feel stressed while they are not completing their homework. If we are going to give any concept related homework to them, that conceptual homework is going to be create a burden for them. Especially I'm talking about the young learners, while the old learners are, specifically I'm going to say about the learner who came from the board classes or senior classes, that is going to be help. Because how homework is going to be help, homework is going to be help to develop some kind of their pre-work. It is going to be time saving as per for the I can say older one, the student who comes from the senior, but it is going to be become a burden for initial learners. So there is a lot of concern and debate is there with the team. So some advantages there, as well as some disadvantages are also there with the we can say with the student. So homework actually, I'm just going to highlight one more thing and conclude with the point that homework has also been a matter of public and scientific concern that I already told to you. And the last one, homework should be, you can say, prescribed in a consistent way, that it should be give teachers some flexibility, taking into amount, need, and circumstances their student. Homework need not to be strategy that works for all children. Assessment which might help hamper a student interest in learning. Homework assigned moderate.
Thank you so much, Saurabh. The first 3 minutes were over. We'll try to come back to you, but some very amazing points that you made. But before we move ahead, I would request all the speakers that, okay, when you share your points, it's amazing. But at the end, do share that which side of the topic do you stand on? Do you want that homework to be there, or you don't want that homework to be there? Because the challenge is, if everyone is ambivalent, then we won't have something to reach on to. We'll typically just be mentioning the advantages and disadvantages. Please do mention which side do you really stand on when you speak on the topic. I think some very important points that you made, that yes, we would, enforce a kind of a routine for a student. They'll learn how to really back up on activities. They'll understand how to do preparatory work. So I think you stand quite pro with people being given the homework, but you want to strategize it in a better way. But I would just bring in a, contrasting example that all across, just as an example, all across the US, there's nothing called as a homework. And still, students are doing fine. They're still getting into some of the best institutions. They still have good financial success. And they still have quite, I would say, happy lives. So still, just a contrary point, not to, take away the credit of it, just to make the discussion even more juicier when we move ahead. So thank you so much, Saurabh. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Miss Ayushi Sharma, the Director for Archwin International School, New Delhi, Delhi. Ayushi ji, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And yes, it's such a debatable topic that we are discussing today, but I'm in strong opinion that balanced homework should be given to children. I'm a firm believer that if you want to make your child successful and to make your child master in a particular skill, homework should be given to that child. As you were talking about US schools, and as we have been listening to Mr. Pandey also, so they in the curriculum that US is following is very much different from the curriculum that we are following. And we, as an educator, knows how long our curriculum is. And in a 30-minute class duration, when we talk about skills also, when we talk about curriculums completion of syllabus also, when we talk about zonals also, when we talk about certain CBSE department work also, it's not it's not possible for a teacher to complete that much in a span of 30 minutes. So I'm a firm believer that homework should be given, as homework enables a child to master in a particular skill. And as our topic is homework, how a child can be a successful, or how it is successful for a person. So if we look on the different aspects, so it helps a child to prepare for a real world, because in homework also we ask child to complete a particular task in a given period of time. And what we are doing as a youngster, what we are doing as a person who is going to an office, or who is going to appear for some other courses after 12th, after school. So yes, a child is, we are preparing child for real time future. And it's inevitable when we come to CBSE or we come to ICSE boards, because NEP talks about skills also. On the same hand, NEP talks about curriculum also. NEP talks about different aspects also. So how will we manage, how a child will be managed, how a child will manage to master these skills by doing a real हमने भी बहुत पुराना ये सुना है कि प्रैक्टिस मेक्स अ मैन परफेक्ट. सो कहाँ वो बच्चा प्रैक्टिस करेगा? वो प्रैक्टिस घर पे ही तो करेगा. 30 मिनट्स के टाइम स्पैन पे तो वो प्रैक्टिस करेगा ही नहीं. He doesn't get time to practice in that span of 30 minutes. So yes, I am a firm believer that a balanced homework should be given. ऐसा नहीं कि हाँ, we have overburdened a child with so many subjects, with so many skills, with so many things. But yes, a balanced homework, a subject or two should be given to a child, in which a child can come home and can practice as per their needs, as per their subjects. And yes, a child understands and child knows how to balance between play and work. It teaches a child.
Thank you so much, Ayushi ma'am. The 3 minutes were over. I think you very well stated the ardent belief that you have that yes, homework will contribute to the student life as much as possible. But at the same point, I would also bring in a contrary point, that when we ourselves look at our own lives or our own day, what amount of that do we devote to the core work that we have in our life, and what amount do we devote to the family, what amount do we devote to different aspects of life? And that's why this debate becomes critical, that are we killing all the other aspects of life just with a lot of homework? Because when we say something called balanced homework, I don't think we have still found out that balance in the homework that we all visualize. But still, respecting your opinion, let's move on to the second next speaker. Thank you so much, ma'am. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Dr. Jayant Sonwalkar, who's a professor from Institute of Management Studies, Devi Ahilya University, Indore, Madhya Pradesh. Jayant ji, we'll try to know from you that what do you think that how critical is homework? अगर homework नहीं भी हुआ बच्चों की जिंदगी में तो क्या बिगड़ जाएगा, और अगर वो बना रहा तो क्या सुधर जाएगा? Over to Jayant ji for his opinion on the topic, and a very warm welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me on this topic. And you're really right. I'm listening to all the other predecessors, and they have their own experiences and opinions. But I will take you quickly within a minute to my long research, which I have done with the students in 35 years, of course, in higher education. That problem of learning comes only when the teacher is teaching in a different learning style and a student belongs to a different learning style. There are 5 predominant styles in which most of the students can fall. I'll just name, I'll not explain, there is no time, I'll not explain. So first style is apprenticeship, second is incidental, third is inductive, fourth is deductive, and fifth is discovery. So when the matter is given into 5 different styles, for each exercise will cover only one style, student will automatically learn. This I am saying from the experiences of international students as well as domestic students, that if the learning of the student has to happen, because our most important objective, including in NEP, is not teaching. We have to be only as supportive in a learning process of the student, whether it is schools or colleges or anywhere, even adults. So if we want them to learn, enjoy, what is their time in learning process? the learning process has to be in different learning style. There is a huge amount of research in this. I'm not going into details. One can find later on. You can Google and you can find what I'm talking about. But if that is there, there is no hitch whether we give homework or whether we don't give homework. Student learn. Most of the problem occurs when the students in the classes, in the schools, they don't learn because your style doesn't teach with, and it is not possible for a teacher to teach everything in 5 different learning styles in a class. So if you want the learning to be happening 95% for every student, so there will be no discussion at all in coming years if we follow this theory, which is one of the latest theories in learning technology, that everybody will learn about 75 to 90%. If everyone learns 90%, there will be no hitch for us. There will be no very poor students, poor learners. There will be no smart learners. So since our presentation is in a form, everyone learns well. So everyone will learn what we want them to learn. Second most important point about the homework, which you already said, I am firm believer that in Vedic times, in Gurukuls, since students were living in residential area, they were doing all the activities, were incorporating the learning process, and the homework was automatically covered. But since in the modern times today, it's not possible. Students are in a school for a limited time, and we want them to learn much more than what we teach in the class or what we discuss in the class. So there has to be some homework. Again, as you rightly said, there is no concept of balanced homework, but the most importantly, homework has to be number 1, interesting, and number 2, enjoyable. So there is a lot of work for the teacher to make learning enjoyable. And this is a new paradigm which is coming, including with the NEP, and that all the learning process has to be enjoyable. So if you want the learning has to be enjoyable, you have to create exercises in a form that somewhere it is, and third, most importantly, it is video based. And fourth, last I want to put it, it should be a group exercise. So even when the students who are living nearby, they make a group of those students who are living nearby. So what they learn in a group learning is much more than what they learn in the school. So these are the latest researches in educational technology, learning processes and brainwave technology. So learning processes have to be very, very smartly designed by the teachers. So it is all through teachers have to learn new, and they have to design learning process in a new form. So this is my take.
Thank you so much, Jayant sir. The 3 minutes were over, but I think some very important points that you made, and this is what we wanted to bring out in a discussion like this, that when we teach them, even when we go to our Vedic times, there were 2 components of learning, 2 very essential components. One of them was Chintan, when you're reading and trying to understand things. And the second element was Manan, that are you really able to imbibe it? And most of the homeworks, or when we talk of that quote unquote balanced homework, it should typically go to that Manan state, but it doesn't typically go there. So that's why we want to know from the school leaders that do they really think that what all is going on, does it need some kind of a change? So thank you so much, sir. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Miss Neeti Tripathi, the Vice Principal for Sidar International School from Chittagong, Bangladesh. Neeti ma'am, for the next 3 minutes, please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Hello, sir. Good evening from Bangladesh. I will start with, my stand that I support homework. And I will just share what we do in our school. In our school, we don't have homework. We have extension and reflection exercises. We have not termed them as homework. Whatever we ask the students to do at home, those are extension exercises of classroom learning and the reflection activities. And in an era where we are talking about the flipped classroom, gamification, and we want to introduce all these concepts in the class, it's not possible that the students would do things only in the school and they will not do any extension activities or reflection activities at home. So what we make sure that whatever is given as extension and reflection activities are fully connected with classroom learning. we do not give them some new concept which they have to learn on their own, and then it becomes a burden. Another thing. Second thing, we believe that by doing this, we have parental involvement in the students' learning, because often parent help the students, so they are aware what is going on in the school, so there is a transparency, and we have the involvement and support of the parent. Third is, it gives them some kind of creativity, independence, time management skills, presentation skills, and various other skills are covered when we give these extension and reflection activities. I'm not using word homework, okay? And we have come up with a very strict policy in this regard, that as per the age and the class and level of the students, how much time a student should be spending doing extension and reflection activities at home. So we usually provide them over weekend, and either alternate days for the lower classes. So and also we have also taken care like which subject needs how much weightage, so accordingly we have made our policy. So these things are helping us, and I don't think that homework should be completely done away from the school, because as you said, chintan and manan cannot be only done in the school. Manan has to be happening at home also. And if your classroom learning does not have a reflection and it does not have an extension, it is of no use. Most of the time a student come up with wonderful and amazing feedback and reflection questions. We believe in inquiry based learning. Now inquiry would not be happening only in the school. When students go home and when they reflect on their classroom learning, they come up various other questions, and we promote student questions in the class. So this can only happen, as one of the speakers said, in 30 minutes period or 40 minutes period. We will not be able to give all that to students. So that's why for me, homework is extension and reflection activities, and the concepts like flipped classroom, gamification, which we are promoting nowadays. It's very important to have these extension and reflection activities, and also to involve parent and schools learning. I think my time is over.
Thank you so much, Neeti ma'am. And yes, let's at least change the terminology from homework to extension and reflection. That makes the debate even more convenient for one of the sides of the discussion. And I think I'm becoming quite the devil's advocate now, because I'm just putting in the point that I hate homework, and I do hate homework. There should be more reasons that I should be putting forth, because the kind of homework or the kind of extension and reflection activities that we currently have, they're just taking up a lot of mental space and not giving them the kind of physical challenge that it requires. If you want a concept to really get enforced in a child, or seed into his brain, there has to be some physical involvement, or that concept actually coming to life in some or the other way for them. Only then it will really become that reflection. But thank you so much, ma'am. Let's try to understand from the next speaker that what do they think about homework. Till now, everyone has been superbly pro homework. So let's try to know from more speakers, what do they think. A very warm welcome to Ms. Rajshree Shihag, the principal of Matrix High School from Sikar, Rajasthan. Rajshree ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself, and a very warm welcome.
Good evening and namaskar. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm so glad to hear from the esteemed speakers. Till today morning, I was totally against homework, and post afternoon, I changed my side, and I'm again. I want to before taking my stand, I want to just say a few lines on the word homework. We actually, especially we Indians, we cling on to something which is given to us till it is not actually taken away from us and something else is given to us. And as far as I understand, long back when our mothers were actually not educated, so homework started from there, that they had to send something home so that the child, and when the child was doing that homework, it was not only the child who was getting educated, it was the mother who was getting educated through the child. Lot of relevance. But over the change, now of lately when we have been giving homeworks, teachers have been complaining that they do it from chat GPT. So what is the point of giving homework? So here I would say that start giving them prompts. give them the answers, ask them to create those questions. So that becomes the homework. But on the other hand, I would say, even if I'm asking my child to go home and maybe do a little bit of seed sowing, or doing a little bit of gardening, if I'm telling the child to go home and do that gardening with the mother or the father, again, it is actually termed as homework, because that is something that I'm asking the child to go home and do it. So we have to get out of that mode of that homework or no homework. We just need to, as Neeti ma'am said, we need to change the terminologies. We need to change the kind of work that we start giving to our children. Because when we talk about foreign countries and we say that they don't give homework, so they have very structured entire day. They go for activities and they have multiple things that the child doesn't have time to sit down and do that homework. Whereas in our culture, maybe more than 50 or 60% of the families, they have nothing beyond the school. Especially when I come from a rural part, I would say a child when goes home doesn't have anything, no social life and nothing else. So how does the parent keep the child engaged with some sort of activity? Now, when the parent is not aware that what activity should I get my child to do, the parent gets dependent on the school and demands for homework. So now, as some sir was talking about the kind of homework, we all really need to do the manan on what kind of homework we need to assign. And I would say some work for home, because we need to keep our children engaged, and everything, every little thing that a child does or we do is a process of learning. So things done in school and at home, they are going to coincide always. We need to change the terminologies and we need to change the style of our homework. Thank you for this lovely platform.
Thank you so much, Rajshree ma'am. Again, somebody who's superbly pro with homework. And I think a very important point that you brought in was that initially when homework was there, it was supposed to typically keep everyone on track. That yes, you're sending some, lineage to home where he knows that this is the subject matter. And even it becomes a mode of adult education as well. Now, we don't know whether it really solved the purpose or not. But I think where your point really comes to finally, that we don't have anything to engage them. So do we find this to be a solid reason that since we don't have anything else for them, let's just give them some homework? Is it not a compensatory kind of a reason rather than just being a reason which will really add to their life? But you're absolutely your point taken. So and since I'm the devil's advocate, I'll always be advocating for no homework. So let's try to know from more speakers that what do they have to say on this. A very warm welcome to Dr. Suchitra Bhattacharya, the principal of GD Goenka Public School from New Delhi, Delhi. Suchitra ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Good evening. I'll straight jump into the answer, yes or no. No midway. I would definitely think of some home assignment or any other nomenclature you talk about. It is basically, these days, it's just the opposite of what Pam spoke just now. I come from an urban background from the childhood till even now. These days, children are engaged in number of activities. In fact, every mother wants the child to be the best batsman or the best singer or the best painter. Like in childhood, I have always learned dancing and music. So I had to come home and practice. What is that? So I strongly feel whatever is done in this school need not necessarily be writing work. It's the revision. The child has to understand that is done in the class. But unless and until he goes into it to see the details, he will never remember it or maybe finding it difficult. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the child will have to face the questions, which is not at all rote learning these days. There are many subjects where we have nothing else but rote learning, but basically it's very scientific. It gives a research possibility for a child, whether he's writing it from the internet or Googling it out, he's researching on it. The moment he reads it, he will get much more knowledge than what is restricted in the book. So whatever nomenclature you say, doing things at home to reassure what you are learning and keeping it in mind, I think that can be wonderfully placed. And these days, most of us with the NEP coming in, I think we are trying our level best to keep up the pace and ensure that children utilize technology, because you can't keep them away from technology. So utilizing technology to do some research, to find out some analysis, to do in meetings like this, whether far or near. If the children are sitting together, they discuss, they can make a project. So this gives life skills. This teaches them time management. This gives them the responsibility that I need to create something more and present in the class. So time management, creativity, I would say, coordination, teamwork, so many life skill things that we can see. So homework, as on giving something to write or making 10 sums, go and do these 10 sums at home, it's no more like that. Depending on the subject, I think all teachers give in variation. Best is they do amazing work when it comes to technology. So much of projects are being prepared by children, and it is wonderful to see such beautiful, I would say, children are really discovering themselves, the talents that they have, and they put in their own. Even we are learning. So why not homework? Homework is definitely a, I won't say a necessity, but it's an add-on. Just now, like you had started by saying foreign countries, they don't have homework. As such, I would disagree to a little, because I've got lots of relatives. It is not as such homework as such, but yes, definitely research work or something to do with discussion with the parents is done. So I think my time is up. I would definitely want home assignments or whatever you say to continue.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think one more taker who's super pro with students getting homework. I think there's a bleak chance for all the students to see a life where they won't have any homework. But yes, homework would actually be redefined. That's a hope that's, we are seeing with all the school leaders who have come in and discussed. But still, I will be the devil's advocate, because homework is something which is really taking away all the time that a student has even after school. And I think most of us are still relying on the fact that since we don't have anything else, let's give them a thread to continue whatever happened in the class. We need learning outcomes, but we need stronger, ways of, engaging them rather than just home assignment. Because what you talked about in most of the foreign countries, when we look at homework, it does not look like homework. It looks like a discussion. It looks like some sort of a research. But when we talk of most of the Asian countries, most of the South Asian countries, homework looks like hard, solid academic work that's an extension of the school, which is typically biting off the personal time of a student. But still, your point absolutely taken, ma'am. Thank you so much. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Dr. Vinod Kumar Bhatia, who's the principal and consultant for GD Goenka Public School for Motihari, Bihar. Vinodji, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself, and a very warm welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daksh Gaur. I hope I am audible. Okay, great. So I'm very much thankful to all the participants as well, and from Miss Ayushi Sharma, who said balanced work should be given, to Professor Jayant, who said it should be, enjoyable homework. We call it instructional practice, and when we call it IP, I have to divide it into 4 categories. So I'll tell you, my first category is broader aspect of homework. Why do we give it? Second is stage wise, I mean to pre-primary to senior students, how much homework, the amount of homework we should give. My third point will be happy homework activities, and fourth, undoubtedly last point will come, ways to contribute in student success. So I'll start with my first point. Actually, student success is multidimensional. So what we do in our school, we are following experiential learning. And I hope Dr. Suchitra Bhattacharya, she is also principal of GD Goenka. So we all 100, around 30 schools, we follow the same practices. But we also want academic achievement, critical thinking to, promote creativity, problem solving abilities, social emotional development, and lifelong, learning habits amongst our students. So to instill these things, we need homework, we need IP. My second point will come like how much homework stage-wise we should give. For pre-primary classes, I'm advocate to give just 10-15 minutes time with the parents to students. They should spend for some reading or some drawing activity. It's a family time. They can enjoy that activity. So I'm coming to that point where, Professor Jain said it should be enjoyable activity. So we are covering that. And from that stage to next stage is, primary 6 to 11 years, where I personally believe 30 to 40 minutes work should be given. We follow 2 core subjects homework daily, which is very enjoyable and creative. I will tell you how. Then it comes, middle classes, which are 11 to 14, where reading, writing, logical, project-based activities can be given. And senior, undoubtedly, their time spent should be 1 to 2 hours, because there is more or less a research work which should take place. Now I'm coming to my next point, which is happy homework. Uh, Typically, it involves activities which are engaging, which are relevant, enjoyable. It can be any creative work like artwork or writing even a song. It should be hands-on activities, building models and conducting some small experiments with the material available. Many a times we have waste material at home and we can do some creative activity. Then it is, a field trip, outdoor activity, and it can be personalized learning as well. Yes, there are ways to contribute in student success. I have visited, around 8 countries, and I have visited schools there, especially USA, New York. What I have seen, they were working on 3D printers. Kits were available to the students, and it was definitely an activity where everybody was involved, at school. We do not have such infrastructure. So I'm great advocate having instructional practices, but enjoyable activities. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. So we have listened to all the speakers for today. We have, got an understanding of what the school leaders think, and there's a very bleak chance that students are getting away with homework, and I think the devil might die. But I still would be the devil's advocate and still say that homework is something that is actually taking away a lot of life from students. And when I say this, I bring in a very important point. When we go back to even our Vedic times, or when the Gurukul system used to be there, if somebody taught one sutra to a student, they were typically supposed to understand all the aspects of that sutra and then come back the next day. But most of our homeworks that we're giving them, are they really getting applied to their own life? Do they find some kind of an application, some kind of a relevance? Or it just becomes a classroom activity? And I think homework as a term and by its definition now needs to change. But we don't know whether the leadership really wants that, because what we have heard till now, people really want a balance to come in. But have we really devised some ideas where we can bring this balance to the homework that we are giving? So we've listened to all the speakers. If there's something that you wanted to say and you got muted, your time was over. We have an open floor for the next 2 minutes. So if you want to say something or add an important point to the discussion before we end the session, just raise your hand so that I can invite you. And if you're satisfied and happy with the discussion that we had, then we can move on towards concluding the session for today. I think Vinodji wants to add something. Yes, Vinodji, over to you for the next 30 seconds.
It's a IP, instructional practice. It provides, a kind of assessment for the teachers. Like it gives weak areas and strengths to the teachers so that they can guide in a better way to all the students. So that is my main cause. I'm, advocate of giving IP.
Thank you so much, sir. I think Neeti ma'am wants to add something. Ma'am, Neeti ma'am, over to you for the next 30 seconds.
I just want to say that we all leaders and educators, I think we now understand that as we are right now talking, that homework needs to be balanced, it should be relevant, engaged and challenging, it should take care of all the learning style and abilities. And I think with all the new concepts coming in, we are aware of it. So when we are talking about homework, reflection activities, extension activities or whatever, we don't mean that typical go home and write and finish 5 pages of your notebook and come back. And what we mean by homework is something which you've done in the class. You have to connect that what you're doing at home so that your classroom learning becomes and classroom learning has to be connected to real world. And this can only happen when we give something at home. Otherwise, how are you going to connect classroom learning to real world? A classroom learning happening only in the class is not the meaningful learning. So to connect it to real world, some extension, reflection, research activities has to be done at home.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think Ayushi ma'am wants to add something. Ma'am, over to you for the next 30 seconds.
Yeah, I completely agree with Mrs. Niti, because the balance homework which I talked about consists of the experiential learning, yes, I strongly support Miss Niti. We don't mean to write and hard code to write 5 pages a day and you have to write an essay of 700 words at home. Balanced homework means it should cover all the aspects: research, skills, academics. As Mr. Vinod rightly said, ki we need academic excellence also. It should be a combination, and it should have all the essence. It must be enjoyable. So teachers put on a lot of mind. I hope Mrs. Suchitra is very well, can connect with me very well, because teachers put a lot of mind in giving homework to children. It should be enjoyable. It should be like this. It moreover, agar science में एक अच्छा homework मिला है, तो English teachers sometimes refrain from giving the homework. Let children enjoy that science experiment at home. So yes, it should be a balanced homework, means combination of all the aspects, and essence of all the things should be included in that homework. That's all from my side.
Thank you so much, Ayushi ma'am. I think Suchitra ma'am wants to add something. Ma'am, 30 seconds to you.
Here, with all respect, paying respect to everyone, I think we are all on the same page that it is required, and we are working on it, giving a balanced homework, as just now ma'am said. It is always with a different, we are trying to give different nomenclatures, like with GD sir just explained, with Neeti ma'am, she is explained. We are trying to change it. However, I think you need to, Mr. Daksh, you need to work on the parental thought process also. Homework nahi diya, ye kaise ho sakta hai? So that is again a very important aspect that we need to cover. But yeah, it is required. It needs a balance. That's it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So we actually heard all the speakers, and we're nearly at the end of the session. I think Rajshree ma'am wants to add something. Ma'am, just take the last 30 seconds. Over to you.
Not even 30 seconds. I just need just one point across, that maybe we can even tell them that go do gardening with your parents, but that's again homework. So we need to just see that the homework is personalized, it's creative, it's well thought of.
Absolutely. So it's well thought of, it's creative. We all understand that there's some space of improvement that's there in a homework. So as a thought, as a food for thought, before this session really comes to an end, we all agree on one thing, me still being the devil, that yes, there has to be some homework of some engagement or some reflection or something of some sort that the student must take home, even while keeping in mind the parental perspective, because their opinion matters, because they're the final customers or the paying ones. So do you really think, just to make homeworks a little more relevant, a little more engaging, a little more enjoyable, can we still have homeworks, but they could be election-based? Can a student elect the homework that they really want to do? Because that's the first freedom that every single individual tries to exercise when they get into higher education. So should we be giving this to students in the coming future, or what more dramatic steps can be taken to make their lives even more enjoyable? Soon we'll be having a similar discussion with teenagers on a same topic to take their opinions on what do they think. Do they side with the devil or with the school leaders? We'll try to know it in more sessions that we have ahead. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of the BlubWorld Web Talks. This was the 235th episode. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, and if you want to be a part of the future sessions, raise your hand, make some noise, wave your hand so that we know that this was an enjoyable 30 minutes for you. Thank you so much, everyone. Have an amazing evening ahead. Namaste.